Terence Crawford is not no, he ain't like that, bro. Terence Crawford is an overhyped bum, bro. I'm sorry. Somebody gotta say it. You're an overhyped bum, bro. I'm looking at the camera right now. You suck, bro.
Ryan Garcia attacked Terence Crawford in a startling interview, calling him out for a brawl and labeling him an idiot and overrated. Other fighters, however, may also think that Terence Crawford is not a boxer, as many may portray him. Blair Cobbs, for example, noted that Terence is a mediocre fighter who lacks the qualities that he believes he possesses, which became very evident in his most recent fight against Israel Madoff, who managed to outshine the champion despite losing the fight. "I didn't enjoy the fight," Blair said. "The problem is that, in terms of personality, he is eager to face Bud soon, perhaps even before the fighter advances in weight class." Blair emphasized how Crawford may be aging because he doesn't seem to have the same motivation as before, which leaves him very exposed to opponents like himself and Virgil Ortiz. Bud was introduced by Blair, and the Flair bout would pit a star against Crawford, a very interesting boxer. He will be beaten. He will lose. He will just lose, and that's the end of it if he gets in the ring with me. I'll be far more valued than he is by the time we enter the ring. The main idea Blair emphasized in his remarks seemed to be that Terence may be undermining his potential opponents in his pursuit of greatness. This could be dangerous for him as well as disrespectful to his others, since he appears to be growing weaker and more exhausted every day. Blair also discussed the continuing controversy in the boxing community regarding Crawford's lack of preparation for a contest against Canelo Alvarez and other elites in the upper weight classes. He claims that although Terence has so far been successful in his goal of defeating world champions in various weight classes, he may not succeed this time around since the fighters in the top weight divisions are much more fit and strong than Terence. Blair then suggested that Crawford concentrate on fighting boxes that are compatible with his current weight class of 154 pounds.
I think it's definitely too much, and also like what's the game plan for somebody like Canelo? Yeah, no, it's just it's kind of just ridiculous, and he shouldn't be trying to chase that fight when he could probably be chasing something better, something better that makes more sense.
The renowned promoter Eddie Hearn is another individual who feels that Terence Crawford lacks start power. He believes that even though Terence Crawford has shown himself to be a talented boxer in the modern era, he still lacks the charisma and personality needed in the boxing industry, particularly if you want to be regarded as a pound-for-pound great and an undefeated champion. While comparing Terence to other fighters in the industry, Eddie said that fighters like Gervonta Onk Davies and Canelo Alvarez are not only great in the ring but also maintain an intriguing public image, which makes him much more enjoyable for fans and promoters, including the major stakeholders, and ultimately leads to them receiving far better deals and perks than other fighters.
I think Terence is really funny. I love the way he lives his life. I love the way he brings his kids. If you watch his kids with the wrestling and stuff like that, he's just a winner. And I feel that, you got guys who are really, really, really good, and they're not really hell-bent on becoming a star. I put you in that category. I put Terence in that category. Maybe Shakur, where they feel like they don't really want to, Terence ain't bothered about going to premieres and, being on the front cover of magazines and stuff like that. But unfortunately, in the business, we have to try and make sure he has that kind of value commercially. So it's getting the narrative and the moments right to just showcase his personality a little bit.
However, Eddie recently made a fairly controversial statement that has attracted a lot of attention, with fans and analysts questioning its veracity. Eddie noted in this comment that
Terence Crawford. Why Terence Crawford?
I don't think he's as good as people say he is. I mean, you could debate me on that. I think I'm a better fighter, faster, stronger. I'm in my prime. He didn't look good his last fight. I can fight him at 154 if he wants it.
So you truly think that Terence Crawford's overrated?
I do.
Well, he's never lost, but you think he doesn't have any quality wins?
I don't think he's ever fought a generational talent ever in his life.
Wow, and you're that guy.
Of course.
You think you're the first guy to give Terence Crawford his first loss?
Yes.
In a recent interview, Ryan said that despite his absence from the boxing scene, he is still considered to be among the greatest fighters of this era, alongside names like Gervonta Davis, Canelo Alvarez. This suggests that Ryan is unconcerned by the constant criticism that seems to be aimed at him. Ryan even went so far as to identify himself as the most well-known fighter among the fan base who receives praise for both his on and off-ring performances. "I know I'm the most Googled fighter in the last 3 months," Ryan said. Gervonta, Canelo, and I are the three of us. Everyone will pay attention. He continued, I feel like I'm putting in more work to be the face of boxing in this day and age on social media. I believe it's more about Gervonta and myself. You must work hard for it. You must conduct interviews. You got to be there for the people while talking about the performance that Terence has displayed in recent years. Ryan emphasized that the only somewhat notable fighter that Terence has gone against is Errol Spence, and the only reason that he succeeded in that bout was due to Spence not being in the proper condition to fight. Now, what Ryan might have tried to allude to here is the eventful bout that took place last year in July between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, which resulted in a shocking upset where Terence dominated throughout the fight and won with a 9th-round technical knockout, which to this day has been a point of debate for a certain circle, claiming that Terence only got that win because Spence was unfit both mentally and physically due to two near-death crashes he had leading up to the fight. Sharing his sentiments about this whole situation during an appearance on the SC YouTube channel, Ryan stated Terence Crawford really hasn't beaten anybody other than Errol Spence, who went through a car crash. Name one guy he beat other than Spence that's well known. He added, Crawford isn't like that. He's an overhyped bum. You're wasting everybody's money, and you're not entertaining. You're boring. Come see me in the ring if you think I'm talking stuff. Despite the severity of the comments, it appears as if there might be some people in the boxing industry who agree with Ryan, including notable reporter and boxing analyst Showbiz the Adult, who also thinks that in this industry you can't expect to remain untouched if you dream about becoming a world champion, as sooner or later every notable fighter has faced a loss. Showbiz pointed out how though Terence is an exceptional talent with an unprecedented skill set, he still tends to stay away from the ring for extensive periods, and when he does come back, he decides to fight fighters who are not that much of a challenge in fear of getting beat and crushing his dream of becoming an undefeated champion in all divisions.
Those fighters today who didn't do what Ryan Garcia said, and I'm talking about fighters who took on all the challenges and fighting everybody and staying busy and doing all those things with great wins, those fighters got losses. Teofimo Lopez, lost. Canelo Alvarez, lost. Lomachenko, lost. AJ, lost. Tyson Jimsky, lost.
Further adding on to his statements, Showbiz stated that at this stage, immaculate skills and performance inside the ring are not everything for Terence, as he has to come forward and fight guys who are not only more compatible with him when it comes to their size and experience, but also fight the guys who the fans have been wanting him to fight, as it will boost his somewhat mediocre reputation in regards to generating hype around his bouts. She stated, this is why this community is trying to change the game. This is what I've been saying when I'm talking about you're running out of time. Fight those fights, fight those guys. Alright. Even if you lose, we're going to love you. We'll love you. We won't leave you. Looking back at the recent fight between Terence and Madrimov, she stated how that was a good fight in terms of Terence finally going against a fighter who matched him in brass and intensity, which became quite evident as the bout lasted till the 12th round with both fighters refusing to back down. According to Shiz, if Terence really dreams of creating a legacy, then he should go into fights of this caliber and threaten no matter the result. He further added Terence, but Crawford, I think he should have taken on a young prime boot when he fought Move, him being somebody that can match his size with a decent skill set. All of a sudden, they went the distance. It's a pretty excellent fight. Madoff in his prime. You get what I'm saying. Adding to this ongoing conversation, Gabe Rosado, a former professional boxer and middleweight world champion, also weighed in on the potential bout, adding another layer of insight. He believes that the push for a fight with Canelo has primarily come from Crawford himself. According to Rosado, this is largely due to Crawford's advancing age, where he may feel he's running out of time and viable opponents given the high stakes and limited opportunities. Crawford likely sees this as one of his final chances to cement his legacy in the sport.
Crawford did that. Nobody said Crawford should fight Canelo. Crawford's the one that needs to fight Canelo. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really think it's like the fans. I think it's Crawford just calling out Canelo.
Rosado shed light on Crawford's ambitions during a recent discussion, suggesting that Crawford is the primary driver of his desire for the Canelo fight. Rosado explained, but Crawford did say that nobody said Crawford should fight Canelo. Crawford is the one that wants to fight Canelo. You know what I'm saying. Rosado emphasizes that it wasn't the fans or promoters pushing the fight. It was Crawford who initiated the conversation. The call-out, according to Rosado, is a product of Crawford's own desire to challenge himself. Rosado then elaborates on why Crawford might be eager to move up in weight. So I don't really think it's like the fans. I think it's Crawford just calling out Canelo. You know what I'm saying. He reiterates that this is not fan-driven hype but rather Crawford seeking to add another massive name to his record. Rosado then delves into the reasons why Crawford might be pushing for this fight, particularly as he continues to advance in his career. He stated, and the thing is, When fighters get older, it's natural for them to move up in weight because your body changes. Your metabolism is not the same, bro, so you carry a lot more weight. This comment by Rosado highlights the physical changes boxers face as they age, which often leads them to move up in weight. As Crawford develops as a fighter, this natural change may be influencing his desire to face more formidable opponents like Canelo. Rosado went on to underline that Crawford would be the obvious next opponent if Canelo were to defeat Berlanga. It's hard to resist the appeal of the pound-for-pound titans facing off, particularly when it comes to business. He stated, well, if Canelo is able to get past Berlanga, I think the fight that makes sense for him would be Crawford just because, I don't know what the figures are, but I'm sure it's really big, so I think that fight makes sense. And then Benavidez would be the send-off. This remark emphasized the potential magnitude of a Canelo-Crawford clash before a potential final showdown with David Benavidez, while Rosado discussed Crawford's ambitions. Eddie Hearn provides a more skeptical view of Crawford's future in a sport known for its blunt assessments. Eddie Hearn recently stirred the conversation by claiming big-name fighters like Terence Crawford, in one of his interviews, made a bold claim, "We won't get the rematch. I don't think Terence Crawford will ever fight again." This statement has shaken up boxing fans, particularly those hoping for a Crawford comeback. Hearn emphasized that Canelo Alvarez will ultimately decide whether Crawford steps back in the ring. Chris O'Leary, who is a prominent boxing analyst and former world champion, also believes that despite being an excellent fighter and attaining huge amounts of money, Terence Crawford has still not achieved the status of being a legendary boxer who has gone against some of the best names in the industry, like Floyd Mayweather, who crafted a legacy that is still getting praised. Chris stated he's never going to have to work a day in his life. His kids are not going to have to work, but as good as he is, he never had that generational money fight. Terence hasn't been able to touch that, and he deserves it, while clarifying his statement. Chris stated how at this point it is not that absurd of an idea if Bud wants to retire, given that he does not get into a fight with Canelo, as there is no other challenger that might help him get the legendary popularity and elite status that he longs for. Chris added, does Crawford need to do anything else? No, he's done it all. He is the man, he's the pound-for-pound king. But in terms of the kind of money that he deserves to have made, he hasn't made that yet, so if that Canelo fight is still dangling, I understand why he's hanging around. Meanwhile, not everyone seems to have taken lightly to the comments made by Ryan, as during his appearance on Pro Boot TV, renowned analyst and former professional fighter Paulie Malignaggi blasted Ryan for his hypocritical comments, emphasizing that despite focusing on his own career at the moment, Ryan seems to issue absurd statements, which just go on to prove that he is more concerned about creating an image online rather than being a world-class fighter. Paulie also talked about how Ryan, despite his vast claims of being a talented fighter, does not seem to possess many commendable attributes that make him stand out from the rest of the fighters in his weight class. Paulie also highlighted an important fact that Ryan himself seems to ignore: prominent fights where he can be beaten, especially after his highly publicized defeat against Gant Davies and his bout with Luke Campbell, where, despite winning, he still struggled immensely.
This kid wins a world title. I don't think this kid really wants to be a fighter. I think he just wants to be famous, and more power to him if that's what he wants. But I think if you get deep enough in the trenches of any fight at this level, he will always come up short, because I don't think he wants to be a fighder. And I think that, the Luke Campbell fight, more so than making him grow, which I thought made him grow, getting up off the canvas like that, getting the stoppage. I thought he became a man that night. I think it's actually scared him, because I don't think he's ever been the same since. And you could see that in his reaction to the adversity in the Davis fight, where instead of coming back and trying to roar, he roared back like he did in the Campbell fight. He basically just quit.
In the midst of the intense criticism following this interview, Ryan has declared once more that he may return to the ring in December of this year, even though he has been suspended from boxing for a year. This has drawn a lot of attention because, only days ago, His Excellency, Turkey Alec, stated that he would like to arrange a fight involving the young fighter, most likely a rematch with Devin Haney during Riyadh season.
I think the idiocracy has been rewarded for Ryan Garcia instead of him, paying consequences for it. And getting this kind of fight, for example, is one of those things that enables it. He's popular and he generates money. And honestly, the fact that you really don't have to promote the fight that much, because he's got an idiot fan base that will probably just buy it anyway, because they're mostly not boxing fans. It sort of goes to show you the generation that he's in, and probably why a guy like that is so popular. There's sort of a plateau as far as where the intelligence reaches here in this generation. It's not that bright.
As a strict CRI of both His Excellency and Ryan Garcia, Paulie feels that it is inappropriate to force a fight like this to take place regardless of fan demands, because it violates all the regulations that have been carefully crafted by various sanctioning bodies. He also stated that although His Excellency wants to force big fights, the ones that will attract the majority of the crowd, he still cannot overlook the fact that Ryan's attitude is unacceptable in any situation and that he should be held responsible for his recent actions, rather than having his ego stroked by offers like these.